for many, many years. Matt started out coming to Madison in our second year of flag rugby. I brought like one team, self-coached obviously, and from there he's eclipsed all of our other programs. I think he told registration numbers. He's done everything the right way. He's going to talk a little bit about how he got to that point. Now he's connected all his levels to men's club all the way down to flag. So
some of the mistakes that we made, so maybe you don't have to.
Correct. So listen to this guy.
Thank you, Dan. So this, first of all, I'm not a professional speaker. I'm pretty passionate about what we do. So feel free to ask questions. I will talk very fast. Raise your hand if I'm going too fast. But really, it's just all about here. Why should anybody care? What we've done, why the benefits to each club and organization. Historical, how has this grown up around the state, and how rugby players typically are independent, don't work all that well with other clubs. Our experience, really what we've learned, that's going to be the meat and bones, and then our recommended club setup. But throw out the caveat. You guys got to do your own thing. You got to do what works for you. I'm just going to talk about what's worked for us and some of the benefits that we've seen, and then open it up for questions. So why should anybody care? First of all, for a club, be selfish. A lot of men's clubs. Oh, why do I care about youth rugby? I shouldn't even say men's teams. Adult, senior clubs. Why would I want to invest that time? Somebody recently said this whole cult of youth rugby. It's the future of the sport. If we want to grow it in the United States, we have to start with kids. They're going to provide the talent for the senior clubs as they move up. They provide the sponsors. You know how much work there is getting sponsorships for adult programs? It's almost impossible. Kids, it's pretty damn easy. As a club, we bought almost $40,000 worth of equipment over the last 8 years, and that's all come from within the club. And we keep our dues low. Sponsors are easy to get. Fans, grow the fan base. MLR's not, putting money and marketing into kids for the sake of kids. They're doing it in the big picture. It's going to bring fans around. It is a business. And then dues. For senior clubs, you're going to get more players. And college clubs, all the way along the line. Community benefits. And here, and honestly, this is why I do it. You get kids active and developing kids. It's nothing better than being out there watching a kid. First of all, you got the one end of the spectrum, the good athlete that works his way up and ends up playing, at a high level college program. It's fun to be able to say, hey, my kid went here, and they do become your kids. But even better is that kid that can walk and chew gum at the same time. Mm-hmm. You build his self-confidence. You give him the hey, I can do different things. And I'll tell you, it's even more so in the girls program. Some of these girls that, I can't hit somebody. Before you turn them into a beast, that they're all over the field and they're active. It's a lot of fun. The coaching is rewarding. Next, the last one is, why do Americans have to be backwards? Everywhere else in the world, rugby is a cradle to grave. The clubs are built up wrong, from youth to old boys. We don't have to be different and be independent on everything. So, again, some of you guys weren't even born when I started playing rugby, but at least from my experience, in the 70s to the late 90s, senior and collegiate clubs, they're competitive, not only on the field, off the field. They never interacted other than on the field and at the social afterwards. They didn't help each other. There was no cross-pollination of, hey, I want to look at the big picture and say, I want to have a competitive team to play against. It's like, screw those guys. And unfortunately, that carried over into a lot of the early youth groups because the teams, most coaches of the youth program came up with the old school model. They're very independent. It was one coach. You put all his life or her life into it, and that's great while it's good. But when that coach either burns out, quits, gets married, new wife, whatever life thing happens, we had state championship teams that the next year went out of business because that coach stepped away. That's not workable. You can't do that. You have to do things together. Yeah, so again, the whole competition on and off the field. High school clubs are only as strong as their head coach and admin. And usually the head coach and admin are the same person. Doesn't work. So, and again, I'm sorry, this is a bit of an eye chart, but we were still very competitive on the team. A couple people up here know the Green Bay Network. We've had 4 high school teams from the very beginning of boys high school. They've all been, all the way through time, so the last 26 years, been run by somebody from Green Bay. A current player, sometimes an old boy, but a lot of times it's been current Celtics players, so they're friends on off the field. So it's always been a Green Bay thing that the Celtics support the high school. That has worked. Doesn't make it perfect. We can still have some teams that, hey, let's do this. No, it's not going to help me, so forget it. And it's usually 3 out of 4, and it's not always the same 3 out of 4 that are helping each other, but there's been a pretty good working relationship. When we started going to the next level, past high school, that's where it really started coming in. A few of us started the flag program, and to Dan's point, we didn't know what the hell we were getting into. Ben and Dan had programs already in the state. I went down to one of your practices, brought my son, and said, "Would you be interested in this?" Yeah, he liked it. So our first practice, I think we had 9 kids. We had four volunteer coaches and 9 kids. By the end of that season, we had 19. So, hey, that's pretty good. Next year, 25, 30, and now we're up over 100 kids in our co-ed flag program. But what I like is we have coaches from the De Pere High School program helping. We've got the Leprechauns with my club. This year, I think we're going to get some Maverick coaches helping. And in the past, we've had Mavericks. Typically, Plasky's out doing their own thing, but we're still sending them kids. So even if everybody's not playing on the same level field, be better. Help the other teams start and continue. This year, one of the high school teams was struggling with the coach. He burnt out. He wasn't willing to admit it, but he was done. And let's see, no, Sammy's not in here, but we found a coach, pulled him out of the Green Bay men's team and said, "You used to play for these guys in high school. Do you like where they're at? Do you want to help them?" This year he's taken over because we as a community came together and said, it's got to change. So the benefit to the Celtics, 85% of the guys that are playing for the D2 team, so one of the few D2 teams in the state, came through local high school. So it has benefited them. They have sponsors that are working with the men's team now because of the community impact that we've had at the lower levels. We had 2 hospital systems. The youth uses one, the Celtics use the other. We competed against them and pitched them against each other. We both got more money because, and we kept them in the loop. So, I mean, it's good. And we are now pretty much, we're missing adult women. We don't have a senior women's team yet, but we have options now, co-ed, K through 18 for boys and girls. And of course, there's still no collegiate in Green Bay. Why? I don't know, but this, a couple months ago, somebody at UWGB said they wanted to think about it. So here, what have we learned? And these are just the topics I'll talk about. Recruit, recruit, recruit. Some of the other speakers today talked about some of these things in specific. I'm going to go through what we've done. They work for us, but there's probably better ways to do it. How we run our operations, the financials. Don't let money be your fear, because with youth, it's easy. Marketing, that's a big one. And then this one's the one I'm great at, getting more parents involved, but it's there. So recruiting, social media. This morning, Jess did a great presentation on that. Basically, for us, we found that Facebook works for flag, a little bit for middle school, but it's more directed at the parents. Instagram is what we've used for middle school and high school. Unfortunately, today I was told that you might want to consider TikTok, and that scares the bejesus out of this whole man. So we'll figure that out. But that is the way to attack it. And actually, your idea with putting some of the codes, QR codes, and not even labeling what it is, getting into the high school and having them say, I don't know what that is. Scanning, just to get information, getting more people to hit. There's no reason any of us that run our programs, I've got 2 schools that are there's like 4,000 kids in the schools. There's no reason that we shouldn't have more than 25 kids. Yeah, we had a lot of success last year. Our high school team was state champions. Well, I'm proud of my kids, but I'll also be the first to admit, post-COVID, the competition was pretty weak. I mean, because the numbers weren't there for our kids. We have to get a better job of getting out there. If anybody didn't go through Moose's speech now on building a play program, that's the way you got to do it. Our high school team, quite honestly, sucked up in the last couple of years. It's only because of our youth program building that base that now we have guys that have been playing together for 7 or 8 years as freshmen, sophomore, juniors. They know what it's. I mean, I was 30 years old before I played on a team that I had played with guys for 8 years. College guys turn over every year. Men's team, theoretically, you can have guys play for a long time together, but jobs, girlfriends, wives, whatever, kids, that takes away from that. But yeah, these guys know what each other are going to do before they do it. He talked about this little play. We did that, and now the guy is in here. MLR is going to help us. They're going to help find sponsors and put these kids together. But that's what we were doing. We had custom team balls with our sponsors on it. We took sets of 8, 10 into every school that we could. Work with the FIA teachers and stealing their thunder. Don't go to the principal. Don't go to the school athletic director. Go to the FIA teachers. Give them free stuff. They'll use it. And then they share our videos. They share our flyers. That's where we get a lot of our kids now because the schools are supporting. Not the coaches, not the athletic directors, and not the principals, but the teachers are. Public events, local parades, get your name up there. It's all about getting your name up there. Parades, picnics. We're lucky. We have an indoor professional football team in Green Bay. I used to work for the York. We do a halftime show every year, and their demographics. If they got 4,500 people at the event, over half of them are kids. So we get our name out there. We've done little ball tosses on the t-shirts, throw them in the stands. As we're, the kids that aren't playing are doing that. They love trying to beat people in the head with little mini rugby balls. Word of mouth. You do a good job with the parents, they're going to sell it to their friends. And I've said, and Moose said it, moms, especially at the youth age, you got to broadcast to moms because they're the ones that make the decision. Dads don't give a crap. They're not going to be the ones running them back and forth. I'm a bad father, a bad parent, or a husband, I should say. My wife makes all those decisions. Which one is it? Good point. If she was here, she would absolutely agree. We won't go there. They all know that rugby is my passion, and sometimes they aren't there. So, unfortunately, but if you get the moms, especially, rugby, and we've all heard the jokes today. If you've taken some of the classes that I've gone to, rugby is either they had somebody in college that was a friend that played, and they went to a few of the games or a few of the after parties, and they have a very bad, somebody broke their arm or somebody got really drunk and did something stupid. That's their image. Now, obviously, a lot of you guys are younger, it's changed, but back when Brad was playing and I was coming to do it, there was a lot of truth to that. There was a lot of rowdy idiots. But the game has changed significantly. And then pick and live your team culture. For us, winning is not the goal. It's the effect that we have when we train our kids, teach them the right things, have them work as a team, and have that integrity. The winning comes. If you focus on winning this week, so you sit half your team, they're not developing. Flag, middle school, quite honestly, competitive is fun. The kids are going to be competitive whether you push it or not, and you don't want to kill that competitiveness, but focus on the kids having fun. They want to have fun, they want to play with their friends, and they actually want to participate. If you focus on winning this week at that 5th grade level, you're going to lose half those kids. It's not worth it. Now, high school, then the gloves come off, and that's more you have to earn your spot on the team and all that. But at the younger levels, focus on fun. Operations, big one. Keep your admin separate from your coaches. Let your coaches coach, and your admins do the administration. Next one, coaches work with the kids, admins work with the parents. My main job at practices, I walk the sidelines talking to the moms and the dads and making sure that they understand what's going on, where's the club going, what's the schedule. And again, this day and age, parents are scheduled up to here. They need to know what's going on because they're trying to juggle 50 different things. Coaches need to fit. If you have a club culture and that coach is not following it, unfortunately, we had a coach, we had to fire him. He, in a flag program, he got a red card because the 15-year-old referee told him he was being abusive. He was. I mean, he was screaming at the coach from the sideline because he was all competitive, and he lost his school. We told him, thank you for having your kids in our program, you're no longer welcome to coach. It's tough. It's a guy I played with for 15 years. But you have to look after your program. That is the biggest thing. Because if parents see that that's okay, God forbid the kids see that that's okay, now they're starting to yell and scream at the referee. Can't happen. Practices. Parents are looking for, especially at the flag level, little commitment as possible. So we run one night a week, and the little up through fourth grade, it's an hour. The later kids, it's an hour and 15 minutes. And then the optional Saturday tournaments. As soon as they hear optional, parents go, oh, I don't have to give up my entire summer going up north. I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that. They can pick and choose. If we were worried about winning it week in, week out, that wouldn't work. But we're flexible. Let those parents fit us in because we are that fringe sport. You know, if we're not flexible, they're gonna say, oh, it won't work for us. You gotta work with them. Middle school, then you start amping it up because that's now tackle. Flag, that's simple as hell. I mean, within that first half hour, kids are playing, they understand the basics. Now, it takes more to get to the techniques that the older kids get. But middle school, because you tackle the contact, we're going 3 nights a week, an hour and a half at each. Coach ratio, this is another big one. Have enough coaches. We prefer to have at least a 10-to-1 ratio, no more than 10 kids per coach. And in play, it's, again, pretty simple. Some of our best coaches are parents that never really had anything to do with rugby, but anybody that is a good person and picks up on it can coach flag. I mean, it's not rocket science. And develop your coaches and rest from within. We are now putting a big focus on getting our older players, our high school players that have come up through the flight program to come back and coach that next summer. So you're building your own because otherwise you end up with 5 or 6 people that are doing everything all the time. And that, again, goes back to the original thing. That doesn't work. Financials. Keep costs to players in line. To run a successful rugby club, because you're pitching this to people that have no idea what rugby is, you can't set a pay-for-play, baseball. Kids are paying $3,000 to go on a travel team. That, in my mind, that doesn't work for rugby, and it never will. Again, the elite level, that's something different, but for the local social. So we charge $60. They get, that includes their Wisconsin Youth Rugby and all the national fees. So that's $15 off the top. So really, we're taking in $45, but we still give everybody a t-shirt, a custom ball, and or a custom backpack. It's another $10 if they want both of those gifts. But that's part of the market. You get to play with the ball, taking that to school. It's got your logo on it. Before you know it, you get 2 or 3 of their friends that are coming up. Scholarships, discounts. Well, 20% of our kids don't pay a dime because I don't want money to be the reason that they can't play. There's too many sports, too many kids lose out on the benefits of youth sport because their parents can't afford it. Again, going back to finding sponsors, it's pretty simple. When you say, hey, I've got these kids, I need $200 because I got to put 5 kids that I can't, they can't pay. Jersey sponsors, we have a supplier, happens to be in China, we go directly to a manufacturer. We make money every time we get a new set of jerseys because we charge. At first we started 100 to 300, depending on the front or the sleeves. Now we're up to 300 to 500 per sponsor. We get 4 or 5 of them on a jersey. We're making $1,800, $2,000. They only cost $30 a piece. So even if we get a set of 40, we're still making $800. And then the next year we sell them back to the kids for basically $25. So that money just rolls in and it covers our operations. General sponsors, you get a T-shirt. You put every parent's company that they work for asks for $100. You get 20 sponsors to make your the T-shirt. The T-shirts don't cost you $2,000, but you make $2,000. So and your advertising. And after year one, because you do for the flag, it doesn't cost that much up front. But after year one, you're positive. It's cash flow positive, and that allows you to invest in the other things that you want, the nice to have versus the need to have. Brand, marketing. Really that's what this all is. And when I was in college and failing out of school, and my wife accepted my proposal, and she said, well, but only if you graduate next year. And I said, okay, business department, what can I graduate next year? And they said, the least amount would be marketing. So I'm a marketing major that's never done anything with marketing, but come back to the slide. So this is my college education all in one. Brand, we were lucky. We have a parent that he's a graphic artist. He did all our logos, and so uniformity across all the stuff is good. There's color schemes, all that, but then you utilize that over and over and over. Put the logos on everything. We've got T-shirts, hats, stickers, power magnets, water bottles. You're using it all over social media. Even social media ads on Facebook don't cost a whole heck of a lot. Again, use it for the youth programs because once you get older, kids don't have anything to do with Facebook. Schools, and this is hit and miss. Some schools you can get into if you can know the right person to get into the office, they'll send your flyers home electronically with kids. Green Bay School District, not so much. So a lot of the suburban schools are working with us. They won't. They say if you want to do it, you have to physically print out every flyer you want to send out. It has to be in 3 languages, and they won't guarantee that they'll actually send them out. So you can put all that money in and not do it. So when you can find the schools that just send electronically, it doesn't take them anything. They add it onto the list of things and they send it out. But it does take a lot of ground pounding to figure out. But that's where you leverage your parents. If there's teachers, if there's friends of teachers, you get in with them. And it really boils down to a lot of it is relationship. And convincing high school coaches to do this. Then also, it's not a 2-month-a-year project. It's a year-round, full-time, not full-time, but you have to be doing something year-round if you're going to have this full setup. And that's why you get a lot of people to help. Content, lots and lots of pictures. My son wrestles, he plays rugby and football. If you look at the football pics versus the rugby pics, the emotion of rugby is on people's faces. You can't see that in football. So it could be the same action shot, but rugby is so much better, so it sells. Get the pictures out there. And if you're pushing a girls program like we do, again, letting those girls, play the same sport as the boys, but and they don't get to do that in most of the other sports. I mean, it's different. And here's where, now that I've been doing this, I started coaching high school 1996, but with the youth back in 2013, I never wanted to ask because I wanted to make it easy as possible. Now that we have all these programs, some of these parents that have come up through, they're basically forcing me to let them in and do things. You gotta let them, because athletes today are used to, or parents are used to having to be involved. Whether it's the volunteering that's, you will be here at this time to volunteer, the mandatory volunteering. We haven't gone to that route, but they're used to that. And you hate to do it, but 1 or 2 people can't do it all. And I just reiterate this, you have to talk to the parents. That it can't be a vacuum. You can't just get them signed up and then, say hi and bye when they drop off their kids. it can work, but not if you really want to grow. Build leaders are practice. This is really, we try to focus on developing kids. It's not about winning and losing, especially at the younger ages. It's about getting them to be leaders, because those leaders either will go on and help us later. They go on to college, and some people are already talking about coming back and helping coach. So it makes a big deal, because as much as my wife keeps saying, "You've been doing this a quarter century, you're going to quit soon, right?" Yeah, if I die.
Yeah.
But not too many people are idiots like me that want to do this and are willing to put in that amount of time. There's there's more percentage of people here this weekend that do that, but in the general population, there's not a whole lot of people that focus on that one thing and give up other things. But again, some of us, it's our passion. But when you can get those other people in, and as I tell some of the moms after their kids have come in and been in for years, hey, I'm sorry, I got your kid addicted to rugby, because all of us here, it's not for everybody, but those people that get sucked into it. I mean, right, 40 years?
40 years, full time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm 30 plus years. The fact is, it gets into our blood. But it's not only about us, it's about, you can go anywhere in the world. And if you're a rugby person, you fit in, you go off to college. You're gonna find a group of people, and you're coming out of high school, you go there, you have an instant group of friends.
World's largest fraternity.
So, again, I'm being selfish because I get a lot of enjoyment out of it, but I've seen it benefit so many kids. And give volunteer opportunities, then create some committees, fundraising, equipment. Don't try to do it all yourself. And again, this is the one I probably fail at the most, but I've got a couple moms that are saying, skinny? Yeah, that's the other thing. How many guys my size get called skinny by 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 40-year-olds, some of my 60-year-olds? But it's rugby. But they push me out of the way and say, no, you go do this, we're going to take care of this. And if you do things the right way, you're going to have people that clamor on and try to help. And I told you I was going to speak fast because I have no idea what time it is. And I'm already getting close to my end. So, and then I'll answer any questions. Here's what I've been pushing for years with our, in Green Bay and with anybody I'll talk to. And so many of you have heard already. It's a pyramid. Start with flag. Even if you already have a men's team, I'm not saying give up your men's team, but put your energy into a flag program. Build that base. Give it a couple of years. And somebody told me a 3-3-3 plan. Dan, was that you that was 3-3-3?
Yeah.
And that's really, we're 8 years in. We probably did a little faster than that, but that's about right. We had at least 3 years in our flag program before we started middle school. Because it's natural. You get all these kids, they want to go on to the next thing. But then you're not going out there trying to recruit kids and drag them in. You already have them. So you only build that next program when you have the support from within. And we went from co-ed flag into, so 4 years, we went into our middle school boys. And I think we were in the second year of the middle school boys. And we had a pretty good team. But then the next year, the girls started coming up and saying, hey, what about us? I'm going, okay, you got about 6 girls. Okay, we'll try it. And I think Moose isn't in here, but his daughter was playing. We had Green Bay versus the world, because I think we had like 6 girls. The first tournament because we had to do our boys and girls middle school at the same time, I think they played 4s. Not 7s, they played 4s. But they had fun. The next week, I think we played 5s. By the end of the season, we had a 7s match going. The next year, I think we went from the 2 teams, if you want to count that first year as 2 teams, 4 and 4. Either we went to 2 full teams or 3 full teams. And then we went to 5, and then COVID hit. And last year we were back to like 4, but really played in 3 because a couple of teams combined. But without COVID, we'd probably be at 8 teams by now. And because we had kids pushing us, not the other way around. That's important. But as you build that, and it's a long play. 8 years, the senior side, and go back to Green Bay, the success that we've had this year in the Green Bay area. So at the top level, Green Bay is a D2 team. 80% of the people have come through local high school. They were the runner-up in the Midwest this year for D2. You can't fault that as a good year for them. Plus, they have a D3 side. D3 side competitively probably wasn't great, but we're fielding 2 full sides as a men's team the year after COVID. We don't have collegiate high school tackle. The Leprechauns, the team that I founded back when I was big for 25 years ago, my son reminds me, Dad, my first year playing high school rugby, I got a state championship. Why did it take you 25 years? You little jerk. But we were Division I state championship, and De Pere, who was the other team that is really big locally, was the Division II. Middle school, our girls didn't lose a match. They were the largest numbers, didn't lose a match. Helps that we have a couple girls that have been playing, out of the womb, basically, because their parents are in our program. But in our boys, lost in the state final on the last play to Pulaski, which is another local team. So, and they benefit from our youth program as well. There's kids that play flag. So, as much as in flag, where I grade us, we were the largest flag program in the state. So, and at flag, I don't care if we win or lose. I mean, we won some, we lost some. Some teams did really well. Some teams, I guess the one team didn't win a match all year until the final tournament, and they did pretty well that day. They finally clicked with them. So, and financially, we're all in good shape. So that's how it's worked for us. I think we're the first ones to achieve having co-ed flag, middle school boys, middle school girls, and the high school boys and high school girls. Our high school girls, we took 4th in state this year. It was our first year. Our middle school girls finally, post-COVID, we had most of the team. We did end up combining with Pulaski, who was down because of COVID. So, but for the co-op team to take 4th in state in their first year, we're very proud of them. Again, kind of talk through the stuff below on that. The key, and this is where it can get awkward, I would still recommend building a flag program for your entire community. Don't build, if this high school team, don't build it just for the kids that go to that school district. Build it as big as you can that makes sense geographically. You don't want parents driving from Timbuktu, but bring it in, work together. The high school lines and schools will come, but be smart about it. Get people that are associated with each of those programs to help with the flag. So that way they can, hey, don't forget about De Pere when it's time to go to De Pere. Some coaches are a little less willing to push kids to where they're supposed to go, and they start to build a relationship. People, I push you to go to De Pere. As much as I would have loved you to play for the Leprechauns, but you went to De Pere, you should go to De Pere. Now some kids, and that's why I'm really happy that our middle school has proliferated up in Green Bay, because now they have a middle school program for most of the schools. There isn't any of that, well, I played with so-and-so for 4 years, 5 years, I want to continue to play with them, even though it's not the program I'm supposed to play for. You got to get that out of the way, because otherwise it can all blow up because of the politics. But work together. I mean, what I'm saying is basically be competitive on the field, cooperative off the field. The big picture is how do we build rugby? On the field, just no different than a game when you're against your biggest opponent. You're trying to beat the snot out of them for 80 minutes. And then afterwards you have a beer and you compare bruises and, back in the day when we would ruck with our boots instead of, you compare scars, but you have fun. And so I'm not saying we shouldn't be competitive on the field. I mean, Appleton, even though you live in Green Bay and you're coaching for the team that I want to beat every week, but that's where you belong, because that's where you grew up playing. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you guys needed help, I'll figure out how to help you off the field. But on the field, I still want my kids to beat up on your kids. I mean, but that, to me, that's rugby. It is the camaraderie off the field and helping each other. But on the field, it's, let's go. Except, look at it, it's just not good anyway. So, I got the cooperation off the field, competition on, build from the bottom up. Think long term. Again, it's not, you're not gonna, if you're in here as a men's program or even a collegiate program thinking, how am I going to fix my program this year or next year? This isn't your answer. This is a long, strategic solution. Give to receive. So again, senior clubs. Push your players to compete. Not that I see a whole lot of senior clubs in here, unfortunately. Push your players to get involved. It's not just about when can I go get my next beer after practice. When how much are we gonna? What party are we gonna go to after the game? Give back.
I have a question, like, how do you get your player, like, we already have, like, struggle with people committing to practice as it is, or committing to even volunteer for, things that benefit our own clubs. So, like, how can you either talk to them or persuade them to then, like, kind of step out and try to help with some of, like, the youth teams?
Right. So you're in an awkward position because you're a new team. You don't have 60 plus players, whereas we have men's right now. But even back in the 90s when we didn't, it was 3 or 4 guys that wanted to do it. They wanted to build the first high school teams, and they, instead of saying, back then there was no Facebook, but there was at the bar or after practice, who wants to help? That's not the way you do it. You have to approach people individually and say, hey, I know you don't have a lot of time. This is what we're trying to do. Can you help? Because if you just put it out there as a general statement, people can find somebody else to do it. But no, now you're looking at, Ben, can you help us with this? Real life example, DePere needed a new coach this year, and one of the assistant coaches realized that he was an okay assistant coach, but he wasn't prepared to be a head coach. And he went to somebody to practice today, and it's a new group. He came up through the area, went off the chiropractic school. He's building a business here, but he's going to step up and do it because he saw the benefits. So having somebody of his caliber, but he did it because somebody approached him and talked to him personally. So really, it's recruiting, and it is about that relationship and going. So when you're looking at the group of people you're looking for, pick well. You can't just pick the person that, they'll do it. Because I've been through that. I've picked people to help at high school, especially back in high school, because I was desperate. You take any warm body that would do it. In the long run, that can hurt you. Because if they're not going to fit in with the team culture, or if they're not too many old school coaches of scream, yell, and that doesn't work anymore. Kids today, they either shut down or they'll quit. And there's always the distribution chart that a certain percentage of kids will react to that and react well, but if you're pushing a bigger chunk away, it's not worth it. Even you're better off running short than bringing the wrong person in. So, but it goes to the personal touch. And as I say that, build a team of coaches in that. I'm lucky enough. I've got like 14 people here today, going through all from our coaching staff. It's still not enough because you always have to be adding, because you're gonna have somebody that gets burnt out, moves on, whatever else. And especially when you're running, you're gonna build a program that encompasses all of youth K through 12. You need a ton of people. But that's where the cooperation comes in, because instead of the Green Bay Youth Rugby trying to do it all, now I'm working with the Pier, now I'm working with the Mavericks. Pulaski is a little bit farther away geographically, and they're a little bit more independent. They're a great program, but they've always been a little bit more independent. Again, to each their own. Not everybody wants to sit around and sing Kumbaya and hold hands, but they want to be competitive on and off. And then the last, and I've said it a couple times, at younger levels, focus on fun and getting kids to love rugby. If you get kids to identify as rugby players, high school's not a problem. Because, one example, I've got a kid that is 6'7", 265 pounds. He was 6'2" in 8th grade. If he hadn't played rugby, there's no way in hell the football coach would let him play rugby once he hit high school. But he would quit football before he quit rugby now. And we don't advocate that. I want him to do both, because odds are he could end up getting paid to go to school. As many options there are for rugby, there's more options for big linemen like that to go out and play football. And I would hope they would come back to us afterwards. But we wouldn't get them. There's no way in hell. But we've had other kids that probably aren't that big, and they could be borderline. when football coaches in the past, because in Green Bay we got a lot of football coaches, they flat out said, if you play rugby, you're not going to start football. Some kids believe that and quit rugby. The last couple of times, they could say, okay, fine, I'm going to go play rugby. And again, we don't want that, but specialization, especially for those high school coaches, that's what they're getting paid to do. We're doing this because we love it, and we want to help the kids. And unfortunately, sometimes their paycheck comes in between what they should be calling the kids and what they are calling the kids. I'd rather have kids play whatever sport they want, or extracurricular, be flexible. So with that, I've talked a lot. I've talked very fast. I didn't want to focus too much on our success, other than the fact that it does work. Our high school boys team with the state last year, we only lost 4 players, so we were sophomore and junior heavy, and we've had 8 kids coming up from our middle school team this year. We've had 8 kids plus for the last 3 years coming up from middle school into high school. That takes recruiting off the table. As much as I want more, you don't need more than that. If you have 8 kids coming up every year, that's 40 kids. I don't know too many high school teams that would be upset with having 40 kids on the program. So what questions does everybody have? Because I can talk about this all day long.
My question was, do you guys get any local, what type of media support do you get from like the local TV channels and things like that?
Not very much. We should get more. The Bert Griffin, who's up here at Channel 5 news director, he went to Oshkosh to play football, but he also played rugby here. He's helped us out a few times. I'm lucky staying and talking to the moms on the sidelines. One woman that lives in West Lapeer now, she is a PR person. Her job is still in Manhattan. So she's a top level marketing PR person. She has now taken on her cause of the next couple of years because her son's playing, he's a first grader, he's playing flag rugby. I just met with her last week, and she is now building her local connections, and she's going to start pushing on all the different medias. I mean, she's collecting the radio, the TV, even the newspaper. And what she said is, print's pretty well dead, but there are a couple of good local, they are still the local papers. So the Press Gazette, that's not local anymore. That's Gannett, and it focuses on stuff. But in Green Bay, we have this little Press Times. But historically, it's all us pushing. Now she's coming out and saying, "You're doing it wrong," and she's going to focus on selling them on different things. I mean, last year we won state. We couldn't get them to publish an article.
I have another question for you. What was the 3-3-3 plan?
Well, basically, in general, 3 years with the flight program, then at middle school. And then 3 years in middle school, then at high school, because that way the kids are coming, you're getting 5th grade, learning in middle school, taking 3 years middle school, then you're starting to build that base for high school. Correct, Dan?
That's my plan, yes.
Yeah.
So somebody's done backwards in high school, worked way back down. Just thinking about logistically when we're looking at seeding programs throughout the state. Start with flag. Like Skinny said, 3 years gives you a base to build up your resources, your equipment, your sponsors, your parents, and your kids, and then you can take on the next chunk. If you try to take it all 3 or all 2 of the 3 at the same time, you're going to split that resource pool in half, and you're going to get half the amount of expertise in one area. Whereas and again, when we started Wisconsin Tag Rugby, 12 years ago, we set out and said, this is a long-term plan. The games will be long-term. The games are not going to happen tomorrow. You can't take a 5th grader and turn him into a collegiate rugby player or high school rugby player overnight. This should have happened a long time ago. We were behind the 8 ball 12 years ago, and we're still behind the 8 ball. So start off small in chunks, and we have resources to help you. So if you haven't been doing this, or you're looking at things, Whether you reach out to Skinny, you reach out to Wisconsin Youth Rugby, you reach out at me at TAG, we'll help you and give you guides on what best practices, and connect you to people that have done this, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sorry to say
But I have to give credit because Dan's been running our tag flag program from day one. Ben, I've copied. It's not like I created this stuff. I mean, and you were doing the Facebook thing. If you want to start a flag program, he's speaking next here on how to start a flag program. More specifically, just the one program. I'm talking about the big picture. He's going to talk to you about the little. I copied everything he did, so I give him credit for. And now I know some of the Fox Cities guys you guys are getting involved, and you're building, from flag to middle school to high school. That, again, to me, that's the cooperative, and I'll help you guys all day long, except Luke.
Yeah.
And I'm kidding.
You know, that
Hell, I started coaching the year you started playing. Well, I guess you played before that. We won't talk about that. But the year you started playing in high school, it was the first year I was coaching against him. Because I started a team, my best friend started a team. It was the team that you guys put, really the Jesters, which is now coming back around. So, yeah, even more than a quarter second. I'll help anybody anytime. Because it's about the kids. Help the kids. I mean, and, I pointed you a couple times. I'm proud of the fact that we had a kid that came through our flag program. Even though I pushed him off and let him fly over to the pier, I still count you as one of our kids. And watch him do very well in high school, play Blasters Flats, and now he's playing at a high level college. And your daughter, she's on freaking TV right now today. And I had nothing to do with Stevens Point, but I'm proud when our kids come up through our programs and go on and make something of themselves, not only in the world, but in the rugby world. It's fun.
Skinny, you want to explain your referee, how you develop your referees and where you get them from?
Yeah, so that's more for the flag side, because the Wisconsin Referee Society has been really good to us for the middle school tackle, but flag is really kind of a different sport. So what we see as a potential source of referees for the Wisconsin Rugby Union, or Referee Society, is get our high school kids, we send them down to Milwaukee, or we have a centralized location to train anybody, but we're really focused on high school kids to be referees for the flag programs. They come in, and there's issues with that because consistency is not always the best thing for high school kids that may or may not focus on the same things. But overall, it's more it's a better option than having coaches do both. And if we can get them to enjoy the whistle, it helps. Then maybe they'll continue to, even if they're continuing to play in high school, maybe they'll come back to reffing, because we can't just have retired men's and women's players be the referees in the state. We have to develop kids to want to do that.
And you pay your referees that day, don't you? Yep.
And some of the kids get $80, $90, $100, $110 for that day. And when we can, especially, again, for us, if we can sink into a family that's got 4 or 5 kids, the oldest ones coming down, they're riding along with their parents, so we don't have to worry about them getting there. They're refereeing, getting paid, and having fun, and the rest of the family's there, and it locks them in, because they're not going to take away from their oldest one making some money if the younger ones, oh, should we go up north today or should we not? We'll wait till tomorrow.
What are your elementary practices like?
Yeah, typically split almost evenly, half and half. Half of it is skills, ball passing, the basics, making sure they're in position. The other half they're playing games. We scrimmage for, and because that's what they want. They get bored, and no different than at the college or even at the men's level. They get bored drilling. How many times do you want me to pass the ball? Now, what you try to do is in the games, you rotate kids through, and you pull them out and you push them in between. So if you can have three teams, 2 of them are playing, and the coach pulls the other group off to the side and either runs more drills, or they're talking about, hey, this worked, this didn't. Have them talk about what worked and what didn't work.
Yeah, I'm in an elementary wrestling coach.
Okay.
So I try to,
Yeah, because you got to have them active.
quite successful. You are excited.
Yeah. So where are you out of? Are you?
Malira.
So are you part of the Fox? Are you going to do your own thing?
Oh, I'm just picking the brain.
No, I mean, but,
Like, oh,
talk to us, we can help you with
Yeah.
schools too, and equipment and,
yeah, oh, I'm all over that. I'm writing that down.
so if
Henry's in
you.
Brownsville.
Oh, I know it.
This is how
I was actually asked if, because I brought a rugby ball to practice the other day. And then one of the moms was like, oh, are you doing the rugby thing? And I was like,
Friday.
meeting.
Friday.
Yeah.
So, again, connect, I mean,
Connect.
that's the cooperation. Even if you can only help out this much now, but help with recruiting, if you're coaching kids, wrestlers make the best rugby coach. So,
I do the ball in practice and they run around and I'm like, hold on now. Only double leg takedown, right? Keep it.
Hand up, right? Hand up, cheek to cheek,
Yeah.
double
Like,
kick.
go.
Nice.
I
Nice.
got a girl that maybe if she's standing on the chair is about that big and she took out a guy that's, well, it's not a guy, but a kid that's about my size the other day. So I'm like, you know what, you go.
but, and probably watching her get up and saying, I did that.
And that's what makes it worth it, like you said, you know,
Bingo.
small things.
Yeah, that, to me, that makes it all worth it. Watching, I mean, this kid probably would hate me telling it, but remember the Bilers? Yeah. I mean, flag rugby, they were afraid to get flagged. They run out of bounds. And that's the worst thing you can do in rugby is run out of bounds. But by his 8th grade year, he quit in high school, it just wasn't for him. But 8th grade year, he was attacking up the middle, tackle. So he went from not wanting to run with the ball and being afraid and flag to running up the ball up the middle, taking a kickoff back for a try. And it's like, okay, we made him a lot more self-confident. And okay, even though he didn't go on to high school, I'm so proud of what we did with him. So, what else? This again.
All right, I'll just ask a theoretical question. So, you're doing this a while. You did borrow stuff, but you also kind of did put your own spin on things like that. What would you say was maybe a stumbling block or maybe a little bit of a failure that you had, and what did you learn from it?
So we had 2 after-school / community groups that we worked with. So Boys and Girls Club, I thought we were set. We're going to get in there. We're going to donate our time. Oh my God, are they unorganized? And you know, it all depends on the person. But 3 out of the 6 times we showed up to run our Friday afternoon session, oh yeah, we forgot you guys were coming, even though it was scheduled, you know, months in advance. They all went swimming. So I had guys taking off of work, showing up, and I lost internal. Sean, I think you were there.
I remember that.
That was not good. So then we evolved over to the YMCA after school program. Really, and nothing wrong there other than COVID hit, and now we're still not back in there. But hitting those community groups, and really it's still a goal of ours, but the other failure, the one failure that came out of the YMCA, with our partnership with the Green Bay Blizzard, I got free tickets for everybody. Well, again, I've been pretty lucky in my life. I forget certain demographics. Give me a free ticket's not good enough. They can't get there. So I had 50 kids sign up, took the tickets. Like 20 kids came to the game because they thought the Y was putting on a bus to send them there. So that is back to knowing the moms. That was a new group that we had. We just did the after school thing there, and that was very successful. And you know, the other thing, thank God, I had a couple players that speak Spanish because I didn't. Again, I'm an ignorant person at times. I went into school thinking just about everybody at least understand English. A third of the kids didn't speak. You know, they spoke Spanish, and it was tough. But again, the mom, back to the mom, the team there, and her 2 kids helped us because they did speak Spanish, and so ask enough questions going in, because again, you can't just go off of your Northeast Wisconsin, born and raised, and you forget that there are definitely people that don't have the things, and that's why we are focused on 20-25% of our kids don't man.
You're 1 minute left.
Well, thanks for coming, even though a few of you never attended. Yeah, I'm going to sit around and see what you have to say, because again, there's things that, again, I did copy what you guys do. There's no question about it. So, yeah, I'm going to connect, because again, anybody that's a coach already, we want to know you. Thank you guys.